Don't need to know, but I'll tell you still. It's Karen Dubois and Michelle Montano. It's so funny every time I think Michelle Montano. I think about. You think I'm too young to remember that ad? That song that he was it his first song or the first boss? I mean, I'm sure he was singing
His
before
first
that.
main song, but the song that
In
got
first
him
boss.
out there was You're Too Young to Soca.
Yeah, I think you know. And I see the album cover with that, and you see him like almost in full flight. So every time I see this big human being, big adults running in life and doing all kind of things, I'm like, no! It's like when you don't want your own children to grow up, but you need them to be independent. You know, it's fabulous. So it is. So you heard that Trinity accent, so you know that would mean that things go nice, right? Yeah, we are dull compared to Trinidadians. Yeah, everybody needs some good Trinity friends.
No. Jamaicans are one of the most lively Caribbean cultures there are.
Yeah, but you have us both in the same room though. It's judgment. This is the thing.
No.
Judgment is not a bad thing. It's the verdict is a problem. Ah, okay, that's really bad. How much drinks are we, you know?
5.
All right, there you go. There you go. Make it half dozen, a little bit. That's the voice of Jared Best Michelle, a distinguished sales trainer, LinkedIn coach. Mark that, because everybody into a hustler, side hustler, whatever you want to call it. But the fact is, we have inherent value. What do we make of it? We need to understand this in this digital era. And so he's a content creator. Note, not just influencer. There's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes that is kind of not getting to the root. And so we'll hear. And a speaker, which is important. We need conversations about things that matter. And not what happening to who next door. And that's fine too. That's a little, what you call it now? Garnish on the meal, but we need the substance of it. So we're happy to have him here with us. Yeah, this week. When was it? January 8th was when? January 8th
was last week, Monday.
Was Monday.
Yeah.
Right. So you've been here since then?
I've been here, well, it's actually since last week Sunday, so the 7th.
Oh,
So I've been here since Sunday.
Awesome.
I was brought up here to do some training for one of the larger FMCG companies that you have here, which went really well. And then Saturday, which was yesterday, I had my LinkedIn workshop. Just bringing on a lot of the things that I've done on LinkedIn that has helped me gotten the success. So it was a small, nice, intimate workshop, just showing everybody everything that I do so that they could start doing it. Because my philosophy when I look at things and when I look at the numbers, Jamaicans just aren't utilizing LinkedIn to their advantage. As much as everybody wants to go out there and create opportunities or find their next job or find their clients, everybody's relying on word of mouth or using Instagram and Facebook, and these things are great, but LinkedIn is literally the most powerful business tool there is on the planet, and Jamaicans don't use it.
When I did use it, when it was not necessarily, it didn't necessarily have all the tools and bells and whistles it has now. It wasn't as powerful. I found it to be by and far the highest yielding tool. So I mean, from the experience I had in those early years, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely something we need now.
Yeah.
Because very often we mix a lot of stuff that don't mix necessarily that well. You need the levels of relationship building.
Yeah.
And this one is built for purpose.
Decision makers are on LinkedIn. So that's why I keep stressing to people. So like for example, since I've been doing LinkedIn, I have generated a business which I would give you an example. Last year would have been my best year, so I think I was just shy of about 100,000 US. And I don't do any prospecting. Like companies come to me because of what I do on LinkedIn and how I showcase my talents on sales and put out content and stuff. So that's why I see in the bio, I stress a lot on content, because I think a lot of people don't understand like how important it plays in the role today in terms of influencing everybody. So for me, why I was happy to do the workshop is just to show that group of persons, listen, if you start implementing stuff for what you're doing and what your objectives are, and every single person in the room had a different objective, you would get it, and LinkedIn will be one of the main things that gets you there the fastest. So a lot of people right now have their goals set out in life, and yes, you're going to get to that goal. But what I'll tell you is, if you implement LinkedIn properly, you're going to get to that goal faster.
Yes, we need tools.
Yes.
We need tools.
You need the right tools.
Like, I mean, I think sometimes we're trying to build a tank with a spoon. You'll get there, but I mean, when? Like,
yeah. It'll be when. And I
through
think
hurricane
right now,
season? No.
Yeah. And if you look right now, for example, especially with all of the attention that's placed on different platforms, the world's 2 top platforms in terms of attention right now are LinkedIn and TikTok. And for those of us who want to build a business side of things, you really want to spend your time on LinkedIn. So I've been able to help clients not just get business, but I've helped clients who in job seeking to they've gotten their jobs. I have clients who were able to migrate from Trinidad all the way to Belgium, like companies in Belgium headhunting them through LinkedIn to find it. So my goal really is now just to really raise that awareness as much as possible. And I have a particular thing in in particular with Jamaica, given the size of your population, times how many users on LinkedIn from Jamaica, which is like 560. There are other figures that says otherwise, but it's like 560,000 users on LinkedIn from Jamaica. That's still a little bit compared to what the average in every country is, because it's usually like about 40% of your population is usually on LinkedIn. But then, compared to other Caribbean islands, you all are ridiculously close proximity to North America, who places the utmost emphasis on LinkedIn. And there are a lot of Jamaicans who are migrating, there are a lot of Jamaicans who are looking for jobs remotely, and you're not on the platform where it actually matters. So that to me, I think, is why I want to sound the horn so that they could get on it and benefit from it so that they could get to their objectives faster.
Quick aside with that point you made, to reinforce it though, is that there was a time we have 20 districts, business districts, commercial divisions within Kingston. So it's Kingston,
Right.
Kingston 2, 3 up to Kingston 20.
Right.
There was a time when it became so clear that there's almost no division. We called Florida Kingston 21 and New York Kingston 22. And then when people was running away in the 70s and many of them going to Cayman was Kingston 23. It was just like an extension. And that was before 89, when the world started to have that turn of being clearly, visibly globalized, even though it was heading towards globalization already.
Correct.
But it was catalyzed in the fall of the Berlin Wall, and people's consciousness went a little different. But we're not necessarily, there. As you said, you have the data. My sense tells me that there, so I'm glad to talk to somebody who have the data, because the data help.
That's why I want people to take it serious, because even so I'm a sales trainer as well, so that's why I do a lot of my business as well. But even just to give you from that angle of any type of business you're on, you can actually find your clientele on LinkedIn, and based on where I'm with the hotels, you see a lot of the financial companies there. So I'm seeing Scotiabank, I'm seeing Victoria Mutual, I'm seeing all these companies there, and I'm just thinking, I don't see a presence on LinkedIn enough where you could just be using it to generate business. And Nicolette and I was talking earlier, and we keep saying every single company now is focused on sales. Every single company keeps saying, I want our team to be more sales centric, but no company is actually looking at LinkedIn as one of the places where they could actually generate that business for their organization. And that to me I think is where they're missing out on the opportunity, because they could literally lose market share from an up and coming unknown organization simply because that organization is creating content and spending more time in front of your potential customers instead of you. So
the more you say LinkedIn is, the more I realize how ridiculous it is that we itself don't even go that way. Because when we talk about networking in Jamaica and having direct access to the people, everybody uses links. But we use it, it's not in the English sense of the way. That's what we're talking about. Direct access to something. Yeah, man, we have a links.
It's not.
And in our mind, our consciousness, but we think of it.
But it's different.
We don't think of it. We don't think of it.
It's a link.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is, so here's the problem with networking and word of mouth. You cannot guarantee that after you leave that person is going to remember you.
Yeah, but that's not what links mean in the Jamaican context.
Oh, what is
it? Means what LinkedIn provides.
Oh,
except that that's what it means. You have a link, a direct, and a link is a viable link. We don't use the term it's viable.
Right, it's a viable link.
But it takes infinitely longer because you're limited in your universe.
Right, and that's the correct thing. So what LinkedIn will do now is that it will open you up to a lot more people who want to do work with you in your universe. So the thing I always like to tell people is, the word of mouth and everything works great, but here's the problem. You cannot talk to 100 people. LinkedIn can, because your content can actually get out faster to way more eyes. So the word of mouth and everything now is supposed to be the icing on the cake, and then LinkedIn becomes the main strategy in terms of what you do for generating business for your organization. Right,
and also what the links usually mean is common interests and whatnot, which the other platforms, that's not their specialization. Because friend on Facebook just means that you have done click on both sides. It don't mean that you even know the person from Adam.
Correct.
Whereas you see the commonality immediately.
Yeah.
Because of how it is stated. And
you could see you could see who the person is, your ideal client, which is important. And then so here's the magic sauce in it though. So the reason why I'm successful on LinkedIn is that I create content. So it's not only just about connecting with somebody, but the people actually see what I'm actually talking about, and what I talk about
evidence
relates to the problems that they would like solved. So the thing is, I'm showing up as an expert, but I'm not showing up in traditional methods of where it's a cold call, reaching into your building. No, I'm showing up in a way that it's not intrusive, but at the same time, I get your attention because you're already on a platform where you're expecting to see that type of information. So that to me, I think is where it has the advantage, and that's why I stress to persons that it has to become a norm in terms of your strategy to not only have yourself and your team members there, but your organization should be focused on those types of platforms, because it just generates a lot more in terms of what you call top of the pipeline of where your business comes in, and it will generate significant revenue. Because look what I'm doing as an individual, and I always like to tell people, think about what you could do as a business. Like as an individual, I generate a lot of it from it. As a business, if you have more people, you could do way more.
How do you get to the, well, contentment sounds like settling. So, but let's not talk about content in that way. Content as in more a sweeter spot. How do you know when you can feel more content about your content? Because sometimes people still, all of us at some point, kind of throw things at the wall when you don't have to, because the algorithm is meant to help you to actually deliver to where it's supposed to be, but then you need to be ready, right? I mean, showing up not ready is a mess.
But you can't wait for perfection.
Not perfection. That's why I say content. Contentment is not perfection. It's just you. Okay, I'm in the game now.
Yeah, but
and then I fine tune because if you just
I tell people to start, and they're way more too. So my thing is so when it comes to content, my thing is start off first by understanding what your audience wants, and then just speak on that, which most likely is what you're an expert in. Then you don't have to feel uncomfortable or wait for the content aspect, because I always like to tell people, think about something you could go on a stage and talk about for 45 minutes. Like if I call you tomorrow, actually no, if I call you for whatever time it is now, let's just say I call you to come and talk on a stage at 4 p.m. You could go and talk on the stage for the next hour easily. Think about that as the content you're putting out, because the information and the advice that you have will always be able to educate your audience. So like the example I give all the people I coach and do workshops with is this. If I wake you up 2 o'clock in the morning and ask you a question about what you do, you can answer it, correct? That's because you're an expert in it, you understand it, you live and breathe it. The problem is a lot of people don't know it in that way, so that's why you have to talk about it. So by putting that information out on LinkedIn, what you're doing in essence is, as I say, putting that attention out to persons that there are experts that exist in Jamaica who speak to the problems that you need to get solved, and therefore you start tuning in or looking forward more to that person's putting out information. So at the point where at one day they would reach out to you because you keep putting out so much information there for them that they say, yes, I think it's time I bring this guy in. I think it's time I bring Jerry in, because every piece of content he puts out is speaking to what I think my organization needs help with.
Yeah, that's not a question. We just talk different languages. Because that's what I mean by content. Contentment, and that's why I went on to clarify. No, I don't mean rest and I'm there. No, because it's dynamic. I mean, what is that sweet spot? And you've answered it, which is understanding, being self-awareness, including your gaps. So you're not offering something that you really don't have, but you're offering maximum what you do have.
And then I always like to tell persons, don't be afraid of sharing everything you know, because, like, no offense, everything you learned was on Google or trial and error. What customers aren't paying you for is that information. Customers paying you for the implementation. It's not the information, it's implementation. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They don't want to give out information because they think what they have is valuable. No offense, it's not. It's Googleable, right? What people are looking for is the implementation. So if you could put context to what my situation and my scenario is, then you would get their business. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. So I would even say this. What I talk about a lot is not even necessarily LinkedIn, even though LinkedIn is on a major platform. I really push a lot of people to put out content, because I think that's a piece that everybody's missing in terms of what they're doing in their daily life. So what's the goals that they want to get to? Putting it on LinkedIn is one of the fastest ways where you get the most attention, but people just in general have to start creating that content and putting the information out there. The world that we live in today requires and demands content. So, and I even tell people this, like even in the workshop I did yesterday, I tell persons, what I want from you is from every day going forward, you have to create content every single day. That's how much your audience is starved for information that is required every single day. So we have 50 weeks roughly left in a year. That means you're supposed to be creating content every day in those 50 weeks.
Yes, that is a first-hand experience as well. So I what you've said is even clearer than many other things I've heard recently, because I'm in the middle of it. Take for instance, sometimes passion is important. And how important is passion in this?
Extremely. I'm in, like, what part of my success in life is just being incredibly passionate about things. So like, as you see, this here is not a branded thing. Like, I only wear yellow 24/7. When I believe in certain things, like how I believe in LinkedIn,
yellow as in yellow, the color of hope.
The color yellow, I only wear that. But then as I like to tell people, any job that I'm in and I get obsessed with, I become a sounding horn. I become the evangelist. Like, I speak about it because when I see the benefit and other persons aren't utilizing it and benefiting from it, I go into evangelist mode to ensure that they could benefit.
Well, my passion is getting bits and pieces of information and connecting them. Somebody calls me, a couple of friends in a circle call me the dot connector. That's the superpower.
Love it.
Being able to see things and like, but you don't see a pattern here, so and so and so. Like I'm picking music and this pattern emerges. And I'm like, oh, that's probably something people would benefit from. By the way, this thing about yellow being the color of hope comes from a book we did in literature like about 200 pounds ago, was it? Like a first former. Moon on a Rainbow Show.
Moon on a Rainbow Show. Okay,
I play. I play. Is Errol somebody another? Errol John? I think it's a Trinidadian writer too. But anyway, it's an older book that's used across the region. And it's about that. And it's about yellow as a color. It emerged in somebody's exchange. But somehow the things that stick in your mind, decades later.
But that's
I don't remember the plot.
The color for me actually works a lot in terms of what I do for my brand.
Yeah, I don't remember the plot, but I remember that. Well. I remember that, and so yellow. Yeah. Yellow says, especially in the region where we're in, yellow. It does communicate.
It's a powerful color.
Yes.
And a lot of Caribbean islands have that in their flags and everything already, so it's their national color. So yeah. So it's been a major part, as I say, spending all this time on LinkedIn. And again, it's opened up doors for me because the only reason I'm in Jamaica is because the company found me through LinkedIn. So it's just to give everybody an example. If you want to expand your business locally, regionally, internationally, you need to spend time on the platform that has crossed 1 billion users so far in a year. And I think that's where you want to really spend your time and develop your goals. So yeah, LinkedIn is it.
Tell us how to find you.
Let me start off, of course, with LinkedIn. If you search Jarrod Best Mitchell, Jarrod
2 R's
BEST-MITCHELL, you would find me. If you take that same name and drop it into Google, you would find me across every single social media platform. It's the same, but primarily where I spend time is LinkedIn. You could find me on YouTube. You can find me on my website, jarrodbestmitchell.com, Instagram afterwards, and that's it. I'm not really a Facebook user or anything like that, but you see content there, but LinkedIn is the fastest way you could probably find me and message me.
I think of Facebook as a family album, actually. I just kind of spit what is there is something you say when you're shooting a
No, but I think
it's important. It builds community in a different way.
Yeah.
Not a business generator. You hang out and it's like you take the place of the school book, the yearbook. You hang out.
Depending on what you sell, it could work. Yeah, just think you have to develop different strategies. You have to deploy different strategies. But yeah.
So I find Facebook very powerful for this program, for instance, because guests are from any age, any stage, anything.
Correct.
And if you're not going to get the young people there, them granny up on Facebook and them say, I have a 6-year-old, but you must have him. And we have 6 or 7-year-olds co-hosting in May Child Month, and we get them through those links.
You see?
It's the family album.
Yeah.
But if I want to figure out the hotspots for what, it's LinkedIn, which doesn't explain why I'm not using it. But hey, God sent you.
I think if everybody here, even for your producers and stuff, if they understand why utilizing this is literally one of the best things they're gonna do for their career and letting people know where they're at, they'll be shocked at how many people are actually on it, but we're waiting for them to put out the information. I think that's where a lot of persons get mistaken. When you start putting out your expertise, you're gonna be shocked at how many people run it like they're in the desert, and you are literally the pool, the pond of water that they find. They are starved for your information, and the best place to put it out to help you get to your goals is going to be LinkedIn.
Out of left field, why Ramp Up? Why that tune?
I used to play that right before I start any of my training sessions, because it just to be hype when you hear ready for them, ready for them, ready for them, you're ready for them, ready for them.
Plus the ramp up thing, you're ramping up. When you're ramping up whatever, you're setting it.
Exactly.
You're setting it to do them.
That to me is a great go-to song that I go to just to get my mind geared up and ready.
All right, Gino. So watch this now. Which one you want next? Kes or Olatunji?
She said Kes, because Kes is my boy. So yes.
Oh
Kes.
my God! Like, Nicole, tell us how you really feel. I'm trying to read between the lines, but I'm not getting it. You said Kes, right? Was it?
Kes.
Oh, okay. In case you missed it, oh God, how many do I own now? Like a dozen?
That is the half dozen.
Ew! Buzz it for me. Buzz it for me, you. Buzz it. Yeah! I never take my meds this morning here, so is that? Oh, there's a little. The next, I'm going to ask us to flow into the next. There are many terms that go around, and some of the terms we don't know are terms that can affect us one way or the other. So the short version of that is that the cookies can be good or they can be bad, they can be healthy or not healthy, they can be part of your privacy or your convenience. Well, how do you say to somebody who has no idea that cookies exist online in that particular form in maximizing their presence online but still remaining safe by being aware that cookies are a thing and not your mother's wholesome cookies?
Cookies, I think, are very beneficial. What I would stress everybody, if you really want to keep yourself safe online, the cookies aren't the issue. You need to implement two-factor authentication on every single platform you're on, which is basically a backup for if anybody else tries to access your account, that they have to either have your phone or particular code or program. Like I use Google Authenticator and Microsoft Authenticator, so that just generates codes every 1 minute. That if it is I'm logging into any account that I have to put in those codes first before I get access to the account. So I love cookies because I don't want to be typing in stuff every single time. People need to think about the convenience. That's the reason why they're online, is for convenience. I think about my security in terms of making sure that nobody can access the account and information that I have. So yes.
Yeah. So I have an infantile mind, and so I like to hear, like, explain it to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, bright, sharp, but they don't yet understand, and they're going to ask you, so why and why and why? Any real life exam parallel of that? Because what you said to me is really clear, but it might not be clear to some people listening because maybe they're cooking and doing something else, eh? But if they get an example of it or parallel in real life, they might, oh, that's what you mean.
Oh, well, simple. It's walking into your work office and not just walking in using your face because they recognize you. You have to use a key card and put in a code every single time and every single door that you enter. That's the best parallel I could draw it to.
Right.
So in the past, you would just walk into a building, right? And you just get in. But that's like if you just have a standard password. Now, it's where you have to work with a key card and know the code. And you're the only person who know the code. So even if somebody might fake your face, like it's Mission Impossible, they still can't access the building if they don't have the card and if they don't know the code.
And if you're troubling but you can't do that, just not locking your place at all is not an option.
Sorry?
Just refusing to have security is not an option. And people like, I can't bother with that, and
no,
people but
here's the reason
but
why
doing double.
Here's the reason why to go back to the cookies, because this is a little out of my realm, because I'm not checking that aspect, but just from my perspective, a lot of people have their personal information online, so you want to protect it. So even though you might be hesitant against it, you really need to put that in place for your protection 100%, because I think everybody in today's world would panic or have a heart attack if they lost their phone, because their phone is their most personal item. Worse yet, if you think it's lost and somebody's using it for mischief, which means that they got hacked. So that's why I'd recommend everybody secure it. Yeah.
No, the alert. It's not a tech session. It's a session where we talk about things that people know or don't know and understand or don't understand.
Yeah.
That's why we call it top up. It's not meant to be deep. It's meant to be, no man, because so and so on. It's a reasoning. And so, yeah. So it's for that. It's about that. All right. Anything we didn't talk about that you want to share? It's a good time.
Again, so aside from LinkedIn, the thing I'm really passionate about is sales. So the thing I always like to talk about and just share advice for anybody who's in sales is that I like to tell persons, it's simple. Sales is the best job in the world when done right. But here's the interesting problem. A lot of people are using old school methods with regards to sales. If I had to describe what sales techniques across the Caribbean are being used right now, it would be a donkey cart. If it was a car. That's literally what it is. It's not modern, it's not up to date, and the problem is it's not in tune with what your buyer wants. So the only thing I like to tell salespeople in today's world is that before you begin selling in the new year, what you really need to do is spend time talking to your customers and understanding what they want, but more importantly, how do they buy what you want? And if you understand those things, then it makes your job a lot easier and you can make as much money as you want to with regards to sales. So that's just my only thing. Anytime I see salespeople struggling, I tell them it's not the customer, it's not the product, it's you. You need to adjust what you're doing and adapt to how your buyers are today. Yep.
Very often, very often we either overthink or just don't kind of check a range of sources. And it's part of the reason, by the way, we have the top-up section.
Yeah.
In the sense that I understand when thinking outside the box was a thing, and apparently it still is, and it was useful for the time because it jolted people at the time. But just like with many other things and other tools, they serve the time. And I don't ever use that term except by reference to it because because even the box is conceptual. I mean, so what do? You build a box, you crawl in there, and then you worry about stepping outside. And like, there ain't no box. It's like, what are you going to build and what works? Because it might be an octagon. You know what I mean? It might be no box at all. It might, in other words, I'm overdoing it, but and that's just one thing. But for that very reason, I've never embraced that particular term. I'm like, blank slate, like a child, fling thing, what you want to create. What is necessary? Which doesn't,
I would go even deeper, and again, it's going to a customer and ask them, what do you want?
Right. Like, you want to create a solution. But if you want to create a solution, what is the problem?
No, but if your customer wants a box, build a box.
Yes.
Right? If your customer wants like too much people
but thinking outside the box means you rule out a box when the solution might be a box. That's the point I'm making. The very point.
And it's not necessarily required every single time.
Right.
So yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are just some of the things I talk about, and my goal is to really be here in Jamaica a lot more, helping companies, because as I said, I think the modern approach to sales I think is missing, and I think what companies really appreciate for my style, and the company I worked with mentioned it, is how coming from Trinidad I was able to actually understand their market and what they actually needed in a very short space of time and deliver training relevant to it. So I think that's what I'm really excited for, because I think a lot of companies are looking for modern ways, and as we said earlier before, companies want to boost their sales, they want to increase their sales. You can't do it using the same techniques you had before. It's not going to work. It's really going to bring the worst result than before. What you have to do now is adapt to what the market and what the world is now, so that you could get your customers buying even faster and make the buying experience even more, where they stay loyal to you and they won't even look at your competitor. And it's really possible in today's market.
Was there a turning point? I don't mean just one day where you saw a flash of light in the skies and fell to your feet and, no, nothing dramatic, but was there any kind of turning point that was, for want of a better term, an epiphany for you, where you just say, wait, you have conversations with yourself too, do you?
Well, if you want an expert opinion, you talk to yourself.
There you go. And was what, and then, I said to myself, self, and what did self say that made you say, but you're not there, boy. I mean, I say that to myself.
But, all right, so there are several things along my journey. So I've only been in sales. I haven't done any other job but sales since 2006. I've worked with Digicel, DHL, Microsoft, Nokia, Samsung, several companies. But what I always stressed to people was, there's a period I remember when I left Digicel and I was performing really well, but I left for the epiphany of, I want to see, am I good at sales in Digicel or am I good at sales in any other job? That's why I left to actually do it.
Is it fungible?
Yeah, like is what I'm doing just only applicable to one. And then when I was working in Samsung, that's when I got the epiphany from everything I was doing that, hey, I want to be a sales trainer, because I hate seeing sales reps struggle and I know how to help them to not struggle. And that's what I just spent my time focusing on. So from 2017 to 2019, when I made the jump, was testing. Like just constantly testing. So I actually did a lot of free stuff for like those 2 years. And then when I jumped out in 2019, I had the confidence, because I had all those years before of epiphanies just leading up to what I wanted. So yeah, and every year I keep listening to the epiphanies, and it's working out really well.
I think in my head, I hear what you're saying, and it's making a lot of sense to me, because for me, epiphany and empiricism are friends. In other words, epiphany, okay, so let's get to what is the core of the something, and pretend that this don't happen. In other words, test it. Test it.
That's what it is.
And what does it say?
Yeah, that's what it is. I always remember when I had the epiphany, and when you sit down and realize, the epiphany makes you realize, okay, there's something here. There's something happening. Like I came to the realization, and I just said, listen, maybe let's go to another job and see if we could do this successfully in another job. And then when I got the epiphany that I wanted to be a sales trainer, it wasn't necessarily to start the sales training, but it was like, assess where I am now and let's figure out what we need to get and start helping other people and start doing it. And then that's what I did. So I think, as I say, the epiphany is always the spark that really ignites the flame. And as I say, I'm really thankful that I got those things happening to me in my career. And more importantly, I was willing to take the chance, not knowing if I would fail or not, but I knew if I took the chance, it would have been better than not doing anything.
For real. Good stuff.
Yes.
Well, I hope we'll be having more conversations about successes as
Yes.
well. You know,
I'm sure I'm
The door's
100%
open.
sure I'm going to be back in Jamaica doing some more training for companies. So that I'm incredibly excited for, and that I'm really looking forward to.
well, the door is wide open.
Yes.
And so we'll have more conversations, and you can initiate them, because once we hear somebody, I have this exciting thing I want to talk about. Okay, tell me. You know, as opposed to, again, the same thing about the wise ones up in the office who tell you this and they structure your life, right? That is kind of like, you know, now work.
It's not even
It's kind of
you want to
incestuous.
do things silly.
No,
so
it's kind of incestuous. It's just kind of our navel gazing, whatever one term you want to use, but it's not helpful. We're not moving forward.
Correct.
You know, you never know where the solutions going to take. You know how many solutions I get from getting an so-called impertinent question from a pitney. We realize that they were further ahead than me, and you have to be smart enough to know what you don't know. Yeah.
Facts.
All right, and it's from Cookie. All right, so let's ask Finny the shark what he thinks about why did we lose the sweetness, and who the heck told the cookie from the cookie jar? I don't know. Ooh. Them old clinkers here not working, but anyway, Africa now.